150 years ago, the nations of my world fought two vicious wars over the belief that their people, that their envisioned ideal of a race or human species, was superior to all else. An idea, centuries in the making, that pervaded our psyche to the point that we would be willing to annihilate ourselves and the planet we stood upon to prove it. Yes, the very same technology that brought us to the stars and into this chamber 10 years ago was used to terrorize and force our opponents into submission in that ancient time. Yes, we had, and still have, the ability to commit atrocities on a scale that would forever stain the record of this Federation, should we do so now. And yes, regardless of whether or not we subscribe to those barbaric principles, we cause great death and suffering as a result of our actions. But it was at that point, when we stood upon the very brink of destruction, that we put aside our weapons and made peace. For we had come to the point that our technologies would cause our world to be torn asunder, and all life to be extinguished in the process, and how we viewed ourselves in this universe would determine what happened next. We have made peace, and the nations of our world no longer seek domination over others, for they know that to break the insoluble ties between ourselves would bring nothing more than ruin. But we knew that somehow, a time would come when those weapons would have to be used once more. The words of Ambassador Milulim, on behalf of the glorious Holy Empire of Xanaxes, have made it clear that their peoples clamour for conquest on a scale not seen amongst our kind since those dark times. Still going at it, huh? Weapons Officer Nausius looked up from his console and glanced at the screen. Ambassador De Vera was still exhorting to the delegates of the Federation on Ilplex 4. The audience either visibly enthralled by the passionate speech, or scornful at her seemingly delusional drivel. Though if the day was to go the way the crew of the little boy expected it, the latter definitely wouldn't be the case for much longer. We still need the Sleepies to actually declare war on us before we can start shooting, so probably once she finishes. Give it a couple more minutes. O'Brien sighed, taking another sip of coffee from the mug in his hand. A couple more hours by the looks of it. Can we have a faster way of doing this? Hey, be grateful it isn't Pearl Harbor or 9/11 we're starting with. Though from what I hear, Arsene 4 was pretty close to that. Exactly. They've already started shooting, so why couldn't the GS have gotten somebody to make things quick? We should be firing this thing right now before they realize we're already here. We're doing this by the book, Commander, a deep voice replied to the back of the room. Remember, this is pretty much uncharted territory for us, and literally everyone else in the galaxy regarding the human race. If we're making history, we want to make sure we're on the right side of it, and we need to do it the way we started it, in the old times. O'Brien grumbled, but returned to his drink. Very well, Captain. Grinning back at his subordinate, the commanding officer of the most advanced warship in human history turned back to the livestream and reached for a stack of papers from the console beside him. And besides, imagine the looks on their faces once they realize they've got a front row seat to the special surprise we cooked up for them. Prometheus to little boy, Prometheus to little boy. Captain Vargas, are you receiving? Over. Nausius instantly straightened up on his seat. O'Brien spat out his drink in surprise as he scrambled back to his post. The captain's beard twisted from his signature smirk to an ugly scowl as he swiftly tossed the files back to his desk and reached for a button on his chair. Z, Vargas to Prometheus, what is it? Loki has broken free and Ragnarok is due. God help us. Yerda, affirmative. Fumble winter is a go. Vargas gestured at Nausius, who nodded, and began initiating protocols for Little Boy to activate and deploy his payloads. O'Brien was crouched before several large monitors along the wall, raising his arms up to pull levers and flick switches, as the ship began to groan and shudder from the numerous mechanical, scientific and exotic functions taking place. For what we were about to do. Nausius quickly glanced at the stream. De Vera had finished her speech, and the delegates were in deep discussion. Milliam was growling something unintelligible amidst the din. The speaker was attempting to call for order so everyone could hear what he had to say. Warp speed, factor 4. We'll have a stable orbit above the homeworld in about 1 minute. Payloads are online, all systems functional. Minor fluctuations in the stabilization protocols. Initiating the autostruts. Exiting warp, targets confirmed and marked. Prometheus little boy. Copy, send traffic. Surtur. Affirmative. Vargas grinned widely and bellowed. Get ready, boy. It's history time. Firing. In the early days of interstellar contact, human technology for space warfare consisted of nuclear missiles from the old days, and decommissioned frigates and barges purchased from the scrapyards of the Federation. Not to mention a few substandard prototype vessels reverse-engineered from the ships seen during first contact. A pitiful lot, especially when compared to the grand, majestic fleets of the Pelurian Republic, or sharp, Spartan, Dagon-like vessels of the Zerani Collective. But as humanity expanded further into the galaxy, the technologies and scientific wonders of the Federation gradually made its way into the weapons and vessels of Earth. First adopted, then improved upon, and innovated at a pace that astounded many unfamiliar with the human imagination. Once the greater scientific community had unlocked all the secrets that their neighbours had to offer, it was only a matter of time before the human species began to cook up a couple wonders of their own. Having run out of ideas, a widespread effort was made to examine over 2 centuries worth of science fiction. Every potential concept that could feasibly be made into reality was pilfered and perfected, combined with the newfound understanding of FTL travel and interstellar warfare into an unholy fusion of reality and the human mind. With the basic concepts tested and approved, and the factories already churning out finished products by the thousands, and even then figuring out how to make those technologies more powerful, more effective, and even more destructive, it was only a matter of time before they would actually be used. Little Boy was the ultimate creation of mankind up to this point. An aerodynamic vessel shaped not unlike a bullet train, with a pair of sweeping rectangular wings on each side that allowed the vessel to glide majestically through warp. 2 of warp engines the size of a small car, and multiple torpedo bays dotted the back of the main fuselage, seamlessly transitioning from one to the other. A white coating of paint gave the ship a sleek, lustrous contrast to the blackness of space and harkened back to humanity's early days trekking amongst the stars. A more innocent time, when mankind saw itself for the first time not as one of the many glorious empires of times past, but as a mere simple blue dot in the vastness of an infinite horizon. 16 projectiles simultaneously launched from Little Boy's tubes, conventional liquid fuel rockets propelling the missiles for its first stage. The sizable Xanax's fleet between Little Boy and the homeworld, the First Fleet, the mightiest of them all, and renowned just as much for their technological prowess as for their barbarity and war, would no doubt detect the incoming objects and deploy countermeasures. Sure enough, several missiles and a considerable amount of laser fire erupted from the behemoths in the distance, all attempting to take out the payload. Xanax's weapons technology was among the most advanced in the galaxy, with even the most basic firearm packing a powerful punch, and boasting a wide range of abilities. It was said that nothing could escape a sleepy shot. In a nutshell, their countermeasures would have normally made quick work of the projectiles. However, these weren't standard Federation missiles. The average non-human FTL drive of the 22nd century was normally the size of a large building, with more compact models usually taking up enough space to fill a small garage at the cost of reduced range. Human advancements in miniaturization technology, perfected almost a century ago, meant that any maneuverable object roughly the size of a car, or even a pencil, could travel faster than the speed of light. Even a missile. In the blink of an eye, the rockets had walked right past all of the Xanax's ships and were entering the homeworld's atmosphere, the composition of the projectile's external casings keeping them from disintegrating, as they hurtled through increasing layers of gas towards the surface of the planet at a significant percentage of the speed of light. At the last second, the projectiles exploded, all 16 projectiles splitting apart into 16 smaller rods that in turn ignited several smaller rockets, 256 warheads in total, each possessing enough tons of highly compressed antimatter to turn almost a quarter of the homeworld into slag. For a brief moment, the shining jewel of the glorious empire disappeared in a flash of light. In the next, the planet itself ceased to exist. An entire segment of the spheroid that once was the homeworld had begun to conflagrate, expanding outwards into space even as it continued to disintegrate into innumerable particles of rock and molten debris. Even on what remained on the relatively intact half of the planet, the bright flashes of uncontrolled nuclear fission dotted the surface as power systems failed and sheer heat and pressure caused the atoms in everything from the ground to the sky to the very people that inhabited the surface to split, releasing the sheer energy within them in a maelstrom of fireballs and radiation. The immediate effects of the catastrophe could even be observed amongst the enemy fleet, which was visibly collapsing by the second. Every ship that hadn't been knocked out by the resulting EMP blast was scrambling to evade the oncoming debris, leaving the rest to be pulverized by the ruins of the planet they had once protected or simply irradiated by the nuclear reactions still taking place not too far below them. Xanax's First Fleet's orderly lines and organization was nowhere to be seen. The enemy's morale all but gone or discarded, in favor of simply getting out alive. Vargas turned towards the screen, watching the stunned silence of the delegates on Aprilios 4. Someone must have had a camera trained at the homeworld when it blew. As he activated the communicator once more. Little boy to Prometheus, mission complete. Copy, little boy, the mothership at the outskirts of the Xanasis home system replied. RTB once you've completed your observations. Congratulations on making history, folks. A beep on the console signaled that the Prometheus was now communicating with the rest of the fleet. All other Moore-class vessels, you're clear to fire on your targets. 32 more missiles hurtled from different directions towards the planet, each splitting into 16 projectiles, a total of 512 warheads striking the still intact half of the homeworld. What remained of the spheroid slowly cracked and exploded, leaving nothing more than a rapidly expanding cloud of debris that quickly pulverized what few remaining Xanax's vessels remained above the planet. From the console, Vargas could see the very same scenario folding out for every military significant target throughout the supposed untouchable kingdom, from the border outposts along the belt to the distant binary planets of the twin suns, more than 1,000 light-years away from Earth. Every single planet with a Sleepy's banner and a space dock for their fleets was in the process of disintegrating, beyond recovery or even recognition. Nalsius glanced at the feed. Devera had left the premises, leaving the remaining delegates to stare at the aftermath in shock and quietly ponder their own fates. He glanced at his captain, who had once again reached for his communicator. Fat man, Trinity, looks like we finished the job. Great work.